Test Drive with Graeme Fletcher.
This week on Test Drive we look at the 1993 Suzuki Swift GS. Now believe it or not, 1993 marks the 20th anniversary of Suzuki in Canada. Now that comes as a shock to many people because Suzuki haven't exactly been a household name when it comes to cars.
Power for the Swift is provided by a 1.3-litre single overhead cam engine that features electronic fuel injection. Power is rated at 70 horses and 74 pounds-feet of torque. On the face of it, these figures might appear a little on the meagre side. However, when the engine comes on cam, which is in and around 3,300 RPM, its pep and pickup are surprising. We zipped through the 0 to 100k test in just over 9.5 seconds. The endearing thing about this engine is the fact that it simply loves to rev, and it does so without becoming at all buzzy. That said, the engine does get a little noisy higher up the rev range. Matched with this neat little engine is a smooth shifting 5-speed. Both the shift pattern and feel are very good. Combine that with a light progressive clutch and you have a car that is very easy to drive. During the test we averaged a splendid 5.8 litres per 100 kilometres, or are you ready for this? 48 miles per gallon. A true miser and the best fuel economy recorded to date.
When Suzuki announced their 93 model lineup, they called a press conference to announce that all of their cars would come with a very sophisticated alarm system. Well, the alarm system on this particular car has done what the weather did, and that's gone screwy. The alarm is going off totally unprovoked in parking lots. In fact, it went off twice while I was driving on the highway. Now, the looks that that gets is amazing. What I learned through this experience was the fact that while it's desirable to have an alarm, it's even more desirable to have one that functions properly.
The suspension on the Swift is a fully independent McPherson strut setup. During the test it proved to be a little on the harsh side. While it swallows large bumps fairly well, it passes on practically all of the small ones. During the pylon test, the car displayed a tendency to roll quite a lot during transition, and the skinny 155 tyres allowed quite a lot of understeer. However, that is not to say the car handles poorly. On the contrary, given the price, handling characteristics are more than acceptable. The steering, which is rack and pinion in design, does not have any power assist. During tight parking manoeuvres it can get a little heavy, but for the most part the car does not suffer from that fact. The brakes are power-assisted front disc and rear drum. During the test I required just 117 feet to stop from 80k. The pedal feel is crisp and the stop straight and controlled.
I've already alluded to how well equipped this GS comes. However, if you do go with this car, I suggest a lock-in gas cap. The other thing while we're back here, at first blush the cargo area looks rather small. However, take the privacy cover out and fold either or both halves of the split folding rear seats down and you end up with quite a large cargo area.
Inside, the Swift is well appointed and attractively laid out. Standard equipment on the GS includes a rear wash wiper, heated rear screen, remote hatch release, 3-point seat belts for all outboard passengers and front driving lights. For the price, that is a lot of equipment. The dash is analog and offers ample information. The heater controls are of the slide variety and they fall readily to hand and are easy to adjust. Lower down is the radio, a great sounding Clarion unit. Now while the controls are straightforward, they are rather fiddly to use.
Despite the Swift's diminutive dimensions, there is actually quite a lot of room in the rear seat here. What I've done, I've set the driver's chair for where I've been using it. As you can see, I still have a little bit of knee room left and the headroom is ample. Unlike many other small hatchbacks, the rear seat in this car is actually very usable.
After that little lot, it becomes obvious that the Swift will fit the bill as the ideal second car. It's peppy, reasonably comfortable and exceptionally good on gas. Perhaps the only weak point is its highway capability. Its size and light weight make it rather susceptible to side winds. That and the fact that practically everything else on the road looks huge.
Well, that's it for this week's test drive, but before we go I just want to pass on one compliment that the car received. Now my wife, who you have to realise views driving cars with about the same sort of enthusiasm as watching paint dry, said that this thing was a blast to drive, and I must admit I have to agree with her. When you consider that for $89.95 plus taxes you can put this thing in your driveway, It's a heck of a bargain.